Good afternoon. This is 1:30 p.m. Tuesday, May the 4th, and this is the Real Property Committee meeting. And we are calling to order this meeting, acknowledging that the press and the public have been duly notified of the meeting in accordance with Freedom of Information Act. All of the committee members are present, along with some city staff here. And do I hear item number 2, an approval of previous meetings minutes?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, moving along. Item number 3, citizens' comments. Do we have any comments?
We did not have anybody signed up to speak.
Okay, no one signed up to speak. Thank you, Ron. Marina tenant comments. I see that we have on here, we have a marina restaurant update, and I think Desiree is going to be handling that, so I'll turn it over to Desiree.
Yes, unfortunately, the folks from the Marina Restaurant weren't able to come to the meeting today, but they did provide a written update that I'll share with you all of where we are as of May the 3rd, as of yesterday. They are reporting that the interior demolition has been completed inside the building, which has allowed the architects and the structural engineers to visually inspect framing and design of the roof securing and strapping system. The demo and removal of all electrical that was out of code has been completed, as well as the kitchen hood that was also out of code. They have removed the HVAC ductwork that was old and unsafe. They have also completed the structural roof strapping that makes a rooftop bar area comply with code. And this has been inspected by city officials and passed. They have fixed and improved the slanted floor on the intercoastal side of the restaurant. And the architectural plans have been submitted to the city building department for approval, and they have not yet been approved. The building inspector is still going through those documents, but we expect that they will be completed this week, and we'll be able to issue a construction permit. I did ask Building Director Kerr to review those plans in light of the presentation and the conceptual design plans that they presented to City Council on February, back in February, just to make sure that we understand that, you know, those architectural plans are consistent to the design concept that they presented, and we'll be able to identify, here, Douglas, we'll be able to communicate to City Council any changes between what they present to you all conceptually to what is reflected in the architectural plans. So they're not, as of right now, in the part of the review, and they could start, you know, maybe the fueling system is not in place by that time, and there's a little bit of a delay there. But I don't want to misspeak on, you know, exactly the you know, the impact to the installation of the fuel dock until I get something in writing from them.
Okay. All right. Thanks for the update. Item B, update on the ADA compliant dual purpose beach boardwalk at 42nd Avenue beach access. So Desiree or Douglas, either of you want to take
Just
this?
a quick update on this. We're actually expecting proposals for this work May 6th. If, you know, we'll bring any recommendation to Ways and Means for approval since, you know, we're not meeting with Real Property before then.
The only other thing I would add to that, lumber quotes that they're giving people are only good for 3 weeks because it's such a quickly escalating. So he was under the impression.
I'm good.
Okay, I've got a few. And part of this is a discussion I've had with Dr. Smiley. Dr. Smiley, this is kind of his pet project.
Yeah.
He, you know, the 42nd Avenue
Feels has historically done a really good job of just treating each request on a case-by-case basis and allowing what I would deem to be appropriate. You know, and I'm not exactly sure Councilman Buchanan's, what exactly he's getting at. I mean, I will say that we talked a little bit about the change that occurred after the board authorized the Airstream and the county park to have a truck that code was tightened by council to say that it needed to happen, if you were gonna have outdoor sales, it needed to happen within the footprint of a permanent building. So that's a fairly recent tightening. And I guess this order they're currently operating under undid that tightening. So maybe, you know, the desire would be to loosen it a bit back to where it was, where you could get permission to do something, say, you know, in the yard adjacent to your building. I don't know. I don't know that I fully understand the desire to open it up, because it seems fairly open, yet, you know, at the same time controlled on a case-by-case basis.
John or Kevin?
So when they apply for the special permit through BOZA, how long is that permit good for? Do they have
Indefinitely.
Mhm.
indefinitely?
Mhm.
Has BOZA ever said no?
They've never said no. I will say that the Airstream, for example, you know, that was one where parts of the conditions, there was concern that Airstream was just going to sit there and become stationary. You know, wheels come off it, and then all of a sudden it's a permanent fixture and it's below flood. Was really, I think, so with that one, they made him take it off for a month at a time. I think that making him take it on and off, and there was always resistance to it. I think ultimately that led to it being undoable for him. So it went away permanently. So, you know, they allowed it, but I will say that maybe some of the conditions they put on them, you know, restrict the usefulness of the request.
John?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Douglas, as always, for the background. I think just keeping it super high level, I share Councilmember Buchanan's desire in terms of the appeal of having the outdoor dining is great. So I think, you know, the community in large parts, it's like, okay, we have some kind of cafe seating almost over by the Harris Teeter with Long Island Cafe and with the Refuge and the Co-op, and then on Front Beach, just having more available outdoor seating in general, I think is favored by the community. At least that's the sense that I get. So if what I'm hearing from you is, yeah, that's fine. We already have a pathway for them to do that, and it's through BOZA. I guess my one concern is there anything about what we've seen over the last 12 months that would be highly unlikely to be approved by BOZA? For example, the sidewalk seating, I could see, you know, some resistance to that.
So, and I have not seen each configuration, and the potential pitfall, and is the one that I was just referencing, that the code now does say it has to be within the footprint of a permanent building. And I think that what I'm understanding is that some of these are kind of outside the footprint of the building.
Mhm.
So if that was the desire, I think council would take the move to undo what was done a couple of years ago, take that out, take the requirement that it be under the footprint of the building. And then, you know, we would encourage all of those that have started to do it, hey, why don't you go through the process and get it permanently approved? And, you know, the Board of Zoning Appeals looks at, you know, there are zoning implications in terms of the overall parking is driven by the number of seats. So theoretically, when the building is reviewed, the number of parking spaces is dictated by what's in the building. If we then undid that and say, okay, now you can have 10 more tables in addition outside, that kind of undoes the parking requirement. So all of that gets reviewed when it goes through the Board of Zoning Appeals to be sure that, you know, all of the underlying zoning codes are being met. So that would really be the one, though, that I think that I'm hearing that council may want to consider undoing the requirement that it be within the permanent footprint of the building, because it's also going to cause, you know, if it's the desire of council to allow the Morgan Creek Grill tenants, the new tenants, to do food truck kind of permanently out there, they'd have a challenge with it. Not permanently. through the summer, I guess.
That was if I may.
Yes.
My
go
next
ahead.
question was related to that. And I recall some discussion around event status in the recreation committee for something different
Mhm.
in the past. And I think that the question was, how long can an event last and what's the definition of an event? In this case, we have something that is by definition temporary because it's under construction. So I guess that you probably see where I'm going.
Yeah, that becomes the question. And you're right that if what they do is a city-sponsored event, that gets them kind of out of that requirement. But I think the legal minds would say that a whole summer, you know, every day throughout the summer is not really kind of a special event. That's a semi-permanent arrangement, but we can certainly look at that. I mean, if that's the desire of council, I think you just let it be known that that's what you would like to allow to happen, and we'll find the way to make it.
Well, I'll make that. Sorry, I'll monopolize time here, but I think that's not the desire of council solely, but the desire of the community is that's been loud and clear for a while. We want
With